And then tell me about your transition into teaching. Was that was that kind of inevitable or logical kind of path for you, or were you uncertain about it for a time?
No, I was not happy about it. That was one of Sifu's things where he was like, now you need to start teaching when you go back, and said that to me like a few weeks before I got on the plane home, and was like, so now it's time for you to start teaching. And I was like, well, what am I going to teach? I don't know anything. And he was like, just start with the Bad One Jin, just teach people the Bad One Jin. You've been doing it every day, you know, for 2 years. And so, yeah, I went home with this like mission that I had to kind of change the game a little bit. And then of course it was amazing because immediately my whole relationship to practice totally shifted, because I wasn't just doing it for myself, I was doing it for the benefit of others. And it really made me serious about it. I mean, I was serious before, but only in kind of a selfish way to make myself healthier. And then once it became about teaching, it was more about channeling what was useful to other people rather than just myself. So it was opening up a whole new space in my energetic field, I guess, to be able to be of use to others. So
Yeah.
And that's when I started really enjoying myself, actually. I don't think I enjoyed myself until then. Yeah.
What are your early memories of teaching? Is the first kind of 6 months?
I mean, it's hilarious how you look back and just see your mistakes, isn't it? But I mean, I don't think it was all mistakes. Otherwise, people wouldn't have come back to classes, and I wouldn't have had the students I've had for like 10 years now or whatever. But just, I remember being very conflicted because in Wudang and at the school, you know, it's very hard work, and it's very, they push you pretty hard. And so I came back, you know, with that energy of, yeah, let's push people till they crack, because, you know, that's what we do, that's how we do it. And kind of quickly realized you can't do that. I mean, I think you can. I think it's depends on what kind of teacher you are and what kind of students you have. But where I was at and the people that were coming to me, they weren't coming to me for that. They were coming to me to be able to be more comfortable in their bodies and in their minds, and after a long day at work. And I had to kind of adjust my attitude to training to fit in with what they actually needed. So that's my biggest memory, is having to make that transition and make it work. Yeah.
By the time I came up to you and trained with you one evening up in Edinburgh years ago, it definitely felt like a really established community. It was
good.
A wonderful space that you created. Yeah, lovely
Good.
to train with you. Okay, so, and obviously, so that kind of developed and established. Have you taken students to China at any point?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, so after I'd been teaching a little while, there was a few people. I mean, I just talked about Wudang all the time. I mean, how can you not? And I think that they could feel, they kept saying that because they kept noticing, because I would teach for, you know, I would teach for the winter and then I would leave in the spring, and they would be aware of the change of what I was like when I got back. They were always like, wow. You could see them seeing how much my flexibility had improved, or my energy was different, or, you know, I would explain things differently, and they were like, you could see them wanting to also experience that. And so I was like, if anyone wants to come, you're more than welcome. And a few people were like, yes, let's do it. So it just sort of came kind of organically. And also Sifu said to me at some point, try and bring people back, because then it benefits all of us, you know. You learn from having your students come, the school benefits from having more students, and everybody gets to go deeper in the practice. So it was kind of at the back of my mind to hopefully do that. But then you're like a tour guide, and you're like a travel agent, and you're all these other things to people, and almost like a parent, because you have to hold the space for people losing their luggage or having a breakdown, because getting up at 5 is like way harder than they thought to do Qigong. So yeah, it was a different role. But another one that I did enjoy, yeah.
And do you have a sense of any differences in the learning experience in Scotland versus China for your students, or indeed for yourself?
I mean, it's all about immersion, isn't it? It's like when you're in the land where those practices have developed from, there's some kind of connection, some kind of learning that infiltrates you that just isn't possible when you're in Scotland. Yeah. That's what I always think. I used to think about it as going back to get my dose of medicine. Like, it felt like actual medicine that I was drinking in. Just even if I just woke up and breathed in the morning air in Wudang, it was like that was already part of the medicine going in. Even if I didn't do any movements, it was like already I was learning more somehow just by being there.
Yeah.
And that's what I saw in the students that came back. You know, they had a bit of that Wudang energy. Their movements were bigger, more comprehensive, more coordinated, and they just embodied those practices better than anybody who hadn't been, which I guess, yeah, it's just common sense really, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's hard to explain that on an intellectual level, isn't it? It's,
yes.
To have to actually feel that the soaking in of the Wudang kind of environment into you and to take that back with you. It is.
Yeah, I don't know how you scientifically explain that. Yeah.
Okay, and then so then taking things forward then to last year. Well, no, before that, there's an important bit that you've done for the UK, which is you've been the only person in the UK to bring Sang Feng Pai master to the UK. You brought your master.
That's true.
Fan Shifu twice, right?
Twice. Yeah.
And I was again lucky to come up to one of them and to actually on his round, everyone stretching him to pause at me and like prod me and pull me, and that was a great honor. Yeah.
It's always an honor, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So tell me about that process. Because that's the unique thing to happen. And what was that like for you to bring your Shifu to your country?
It was terrifying, I have to be honest. I have to say it's not something I enjoy doing. I will always do it because it's my duty and I'm honored that he'll come here, but it's very hard work. Just because of the organizational aspect of setting up those kind of things. Sifu, I think I was lucky in that Sifu wanted to travel. And it was a time when, you know, he had a bit more freedom, I think, for that. And he had other students that were already in Europe. I think it was in Czech and Russia that wanted him to visit. So he was like, oh, I can just stop in Scotland. So, yeah, I mean, it was wonderful and extremely stressful. And I think each time, because I tried to work in partnership with another organization. I worked with the Edinburgh Interfaith Association because they bring or host speakers, you know, or persons of religious interest in the city, and that worked really well because they'd never had someone from the Taoist background coming to speak, and it brought a whole new lot of people. So obviously the people that I could call in, you know, were usually interested in Taiji or martial arts in some way, or just in being less stressed in life, you know. But the Edinburgh Interfaith Association, they brought in a whole bunch of people from totally different backgrounds who were really interested to do a class with Sifu or to talk to him or to listen to a lecture. So you ended up with, you know, the most amazing mixture of people, and Sifu got a lot from it because I remember him saying he had really interesting conversations with people he would never have met otherwise from other faiths, you know, like Buddhism and Christianity, and they were really interested in how each other practices and how each other ritualizes elements of their faith, and it was just really interesting to watch that unfold. And then of course hosting people like yourself, other Kung Fu brothers and family from across Europe that would come just because, you know, Sifu's in town, so to speak. I mean, there's no words for that, those kind of connections where you all sit around the table and you have this one thing in common that draws you together so strongly. That's been the best part of it for sure.
Amazing.
the Kung Fu family. It's all about the Kung Fu family.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
And we all decided, because I spoke to a few of the others that have done hosting over the years, and we all decided we're going to share it more in future so that we all get less stressed, because it's stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. So then last year. So can you tell me what was your typical kind of week of teaching in March last year, and then how did it change over the months that followed?
So I guess I've gone through a fairly big transition the last few years, in that I don't live in the city anymore and I don't run big classes. So I was doing 5 classes a week. No, none of which were yoga, all of which were Taiji or Qigong. And I've stopped doing the Kung Fu stuff since I had kids, till I can, you know, up my energy levels a bit. So I was doing about 5 classes Taiji Qigong. And what was the question? Was that the question?
Yeah, so that's what you're up to, 5 classes a week, and then when.
Yeah. And one of them I was actually traveling into Edinburgh to teach. I forgot about that.
Right.
Which is a long commute, and which in retrospect seems crazy. But I was doing about an hour on the train there, teaching for an hour and a half, and then on the train back for an hour every week.
So where are the majority of your classes, or where were they?
In Fife.
In Fife, that's an hour away from Edinburgh.
It's an hour from Edinburgh, yes.
Right.